This is by far and away the coolest, highest order, and most expensive cube I've ever unboxed, probably that I've ever held in my hands. This is the YuXin HuangLong 13x13, and I can already hear some of you guys saying, what's so cool about that? Hasn't the Moyu 13x13 been around for years now? And while that is true, I hope I can convince you in today's video that the YuXin 13x13 is miles ahead of the Moyu one in terms of turning, price, size, heck, even the shape of this thing is better than the Moyu. And not only that, but this is also a huge step up for my personal collection. I've been cubing for over 9 years now, and my biggest cube is a 9x9. Now before we get started with first turns, and man, I am excited for that, let's just get some basic information out of the way. Here is a 3x3 for a size comparison. This cube is a gigantic 98 millimeters, so I guess a better comparison would be two 50 millimeter 2x2s, so you can kind of get an idea of what it would feel like in your hands. Now this may sound absolutely massive until you realize that the other 13x13 on the market, the Moyu, is 132 millimeters. That's like adding another 2x2 on top of here, and like, you could hardly even fit that in your hands. So even though it is big by necessity, it is by no means excessive. In fact, this is about the smallest you could possibly hope to make a 13x13, and you can tell by just looking at how skinny each of these layers are. Compared to the classic big cube, the 7x7, we can see that all 7 layers take up more room than the inner 11 layers of the 13x13. The pieces on this thing really are just tiny. Now in terms of weight, it's about 800 grams, which is about what you'd expect for picking up a massive plastic puzzle. It doesn't feel like you're holding a brick or anything, and it's a lot better than the 1500 grams of the original Moyu 13x13. The cube comes only in stickerless. That's fine by me. It has a nice removable logo sticker on one of these white corners. I guess the centerpiece was just too small. And the stickerless shades all around seem to be most similar to a GAN puzzle. It's very hard to spin this puzzle around with one hand. Maybe a slightly lighter red there. Okay, so I think you and I have been waiting around for long enough, so let's go ahead and do some first turns. All right, that is incredible. Oh my gosh, it just feels so unnatural to be turning a layer that's so giant, but such a small part of the entire puzzle. So yeah, the first layer is incredibly smooth. Second layer is a tiny bit tighter, but still very smooth. Yeah, it seems like all the inner layers are just about as smooth as the first one, which, can I say, is kind of a miracle that they're able to design cubes like this nowadays. Back in the old days of smaller big cubes like this V-Cube 8, the outer layer would be really smooth, but then as you got further into the cube, the layers would just get more and more rough, and that's why popping was such a big issue for so many years. Now let's try and do something fun like a 3x3 algorithm. How about a J-perm real quick? Okay, yeah, so lining up the layers is definitely going to be a challenge. But yeah, I'm kind of getting the hang of this. Okay, so if you're careful with it, it's really not that bad. Actually, the fact that I'm able to just hold my hands around a cube as massive as a 13x13 while doing an algorithm on it, that's just incredible, let alone doing finger tricks on it like this. I'm not sure if this even would have been possible on the Moyu 13x13, but even if it were, I know that the drastically decreased size and weight of this one would make it a million times easier to work with. This is the closest you can get to speed solving on a 13x13. Now let's move on to something fun. Let's do some patterns. First, of course, we got to do the classic checkerboard pattern here. And this is actually going surprisingly fast. I mean, it's not too hard to get your grip around the pieces, and there we go. Another really nice thing about this cube compared to the Moyu one is you can just set it flat on the table like this because it is the first cubic 13x13. The Moyu in comparison was totally pillowed, and so there was no way to just set it down on the table in order to help you line up all the layers like this. And there we go, the biggest checkerboard pattern I have ever seen. That is just incredible. Okay, now let's try something a little bit more abstract. I have a pretty good idea, watch this. Ta-da! It's the Z3 pattern. That looks just as cool as I was expecting, and it's also on every side. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? Wow. Okay, one more. This one's gonna take even longer and be even more epic in the end, and stick around because I don't think you wanna miss what I'm gonna be doing after this pattern. This is by far my favorite Rubiks cube pattern, especially on big, odd layer puzzles like this, the super flip. And just look at this. This is incredible. The biggest cube I've ever done this on was a 9x9, but this just brings it to a whole new level, a whole new 4 levels. Does this thing not just look beautiful? I mean, wow. Anyway, there is one more last thing we need to do in this video. Well, 2 actually. The first one, as painful as it may be, is we need to completely scramble this puzzle up. Yeah, I think this might take a few minutes. And the second thing is, well, I think you know what comes after scrambling. Alright, that was quite the task, but we got it done. Anyway, the one last thing I don't think I mentioned yet about this puzzle is its price. This thing is by no means cheap. At $190, it is by far the most expensive puzzle I have ever unboxed by well over double. Still, I think that's actually an incredibly reasonable price for what you're getting. In fact, the original Moyu 13x13 came out at a price of $300. That's almost double this one, and of course this one is way better in every single way. Also, if you look at the budget lineup of Mofang Xiaoxi puzzles I was talking about earlier with my 9x9, they've actually made everything up to a 12x12, and the prices are fast approaching $190. In fact, once they eventually do come out with a 13x13, I would be surprised if the price were less than like $175. But even if they do come out with that for a little bit cheaper, keep in mind that that would be a budget 13x13, and it would probably still turn worse than this one right here. But for the time being, this is undoubtedly the best 13x13 on the market due to its good turning, compact size and weight, and its unique cubic shape. It's also currently the cheapest 13x13 on the market, so yeah, best value too. This cube's massive size alone makes it my new unrivaled favorite puzzle in my collection, hands down. And if you too are looking for an amazing new big cube to add to your collection, I could highly recommend that you go ahead and pick one up too. Just be sure and get it at thecubicle.com, link in the description, and use discount code Z3Cubing for 5% off your order. For a puzzle this expensive, that means you save almost $10. Anyway, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed seeing this massive puzzle for the first time along with me, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next time.